Every year on January 22nd, the March for Life draws an ever-increasing crowd of enthusiastic pro-life advocates from around the world to Washington, D.C. Nearly 500,000 people attended the 2015 march, many coming from thousands of miles away and spending no small amount of money for the opportunity of marching down Constitution Avenue and declaring their undying fidelity to the cause of defending preborn children. As impressive as that number sounds, it pales in comparison to the total number of anti-abortion Americans. At least 12% of the population consistently agrees that abortion should be illegal in all cases. That's over 38 million people, and many polls indicate the number could be more than twice as many. But this begs a very important question. If there are so many of us who care so deeply, why is abortion still legal? Most pro-life leaders are hesitant to point fingers at the source of the pro-life movement's incredibly sluggish progress, almost always preferring to focus on the positive. But some of them, often some of the most respected names in the movement, are more candid. What they identify as one of our key problems is a very hard thing to accept, namely, that abortion is still legal because pro-life people are not really trying to end it. For example, Greg Cunningham, president of the Center for Bioethical Reform, is fond of pointing out that there are more people working full-time to kill babies than there are working full-time to save them. Large numbers of people who say they are pro-life are not lifting a finger to stop the killing, and those that do lift a finger do just enough to salve the conscience, but not enough to stop the killing. Mark Crutcher, the president of Life Dynamics, has published a booklet titled Access: The Key to Pro-Life Victory. In it, Crutcher writes, "The silent and dormant church is the abortion industry's greatest ally. The abortion holocaust would end overnight if just a fraction of the nation's 600,000 churches became active in the battle." Frank Pavone, president of Priests for Life, when asked in an interview to identify some of the biggest obstacles facing the pro-life movement, said, "Too many people are trying to fit the battle into their life, instead of changing their life to fit the battle." And Flip Benham, president of Operation Save America, and the man who baptized Norma McCorvey, the Jane Roe of Roe v. Wade, placed the blame squarely on the Christian community when he said, "The one most responsible for the abortion holocaust is the one sure she is doing all she can, the Church of Jesus Christ." These statements are pretty shocking, and a lot of people will find them offensive. But are they right? Are pro-lifers really not trying to end abortion? Well, there's an easy way to find out. All we have to do is look at how we pro-lifers spend our time and our money. There are 168 hours in every week. Now think of your pro-life friends and family. How many of these 168 hours would you say that each of them spends fighting abortion? How many hours a week do you spend? If you ask the average pro-life person what they personally are doing to end abortion, you'll likely be met with a blank stare. And if you press the issue, he or she will probably respond, "Of course I'm actively fighting abortion. I pray about it, don't I? I vote pro-life." Now, prayer and voting are both important things, but remember, those things take very little effort, and you would probably be doing them even if abortion wasn't legal. So they can't count as some sort of special effort to end abortion. So, on the face of it, it appears Greg Cunningham was right. Large numbers of people who say they are pro-life are not lifting a finger to stop the killing, and those that do lift a finger do just enough to salve the conscience, but not enough to stop the killing. Our personal behavior is reflected in the behavior of our churches. For example, the average evangelical church is vehemently pro-life, but it also spends about 82% of its budget on salaries, building expenses, and administration. This is true no matter how big or small the congregation is. The other 18% is not being spent on anti-abortion efforts. In fact, you'd be incredibly lucky to find any evangelical church that has any sort of dedicated anti-abortion ministry whatsoever. If you're a Roman Catholic, you might say, "That's not true of my church. We take a strong pro-life stance." But how does this strong pro-life stance translate into time and money spent trying to end abortion? Is the average Catholic really that much more active than anybody else? Sure, every parish is supposed to have a Respect Life committee, but if this position is staffed, and many times it is not, you'll find that the committee isn't up to much. At best, you'll find one overworked volunteer who can barely convince parishioners to do anything more than pray, vote, and, oh yeah, attend the March for Life and promise to do better next year. Just examine the web pages of your local Respect Life committees to see what we're talking about. By far the most common pro-life thing that churches do is help fund local crisis pregnancy centers, where women can be persuaded to choose life instead of abortion. This is certainly a good thing to do, but remember, we ought to be helping distraught mothers even if abortion isn't an option. We shouldn't consider this some sort of phenomenal sacrifice. Besides, it's not like we're going to stop abortion by counseling every single woman out of it. As Operation Rescue's senior policy advisor Cheryl Sullinger has commented, many in the churches want us to accept that supporting a CPC is enough. However, that excuse falls flat when you consider the thousands of women who will never take advantage of the CPCs. By and large, churches simply haven't made ending abortion a real priority. Sometimes it isn't even on the radar of the most influential clergy in the nation. During his 2015 visit to the United States, Pope Francis spoke a lot more about climate change than he did about abortion. And he's not the only example. In 2008, Pastor Rick Warren, author of the best-selling book series The Purpose-Driven Life, launched the Peace Coalition, an international effort to combat what he calls the 5 global giants, worldwide problems that affect billions of people. The 5 global giants are spiritual emptiness, lack of servant leadership, extreme poverty, pandemic disease, and illiteracy. But Warren forgot all about abortion, the leading cause of death in the world. Even the members of most local pro-life organizations are not contributing a great deal to the fight. For example, every major college campus has a pro-life student group, but nearly all of them exist in name only. If you don't believe this, just contact your local group and ask what they're doing to fight abortion. Consider that in February of 2014, Students for Life of America awarded Boise State Students for Life the Group of the Month Award for showing a live ultrasound video one time, inviting Students for Life National to campus for a few days to erect an anti-Planned Parenthood display, organizing a baby blanket making event, collecting diapers, chalking the sidewalk on National Pro-Life Chalk Day, and having a few people attend other pro-life activities in the Boise community. While these are good things to do, remember they took place during the course of an entire year, and the most outstanding item was primarily the work of Students for Life National, and not the local college students. Yet in the current pro-life culture, this is what passes as a superior level of dedication. 40 Days for Life, an international effort to get pro-life people praying outside abortion mills, is probably the closest thing in existence today that encourages the average pro-life person to do more, and in this way it has sometimes been possible to bring large groups of pro-life people together. But as anyone who has run one of these campaigns will tell you, convincing pro-lifers to participate is a monumental task, and most of the time, most abortion mills continue to operate practically without opposition. Don't be mistaken. There are people out there striving hard to end abortion, but they're very few. Almost everything the pro-life movement has accomplished in the last 43 years has been done by a tiny minority of people. The rest of us are just watching from the sidelines, or at most, doing just enough to salve our conscience, but not really contribute to the abolition of abortion. Watching this video has probably been a very painful experience, but if we want abortion to end, we must first come to grips with the fact that most of us have not really been trying to end it. To learn what comes next, keep exploring GetSeriousChurch.com.